because you got LA and San Francisco and California and Sacramento too.
Exactly.
And Virginia, it's Richmond and Alexandria, which is near the capital. And I get all that. I do. I understand where you're coming from with this. I'm good with this, what you're saying.
Yes. So again, I'm just careful saying that stuff because, I mean, again, we've got the voter electoral fraud going on out there, and it has not completely been dealt with right now. So we hopefully, Lord willing, they're doing stuff to, we've heard stuff in the wind here that stuff's happening where they're investigating stuff. But these governors need to start bucking up and start taking care of this mess, just like in Broward County down here in Florida. You got Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami, Orlando, and I'm going to go into Orlando here in a minute. And so, but all these things are taking place right now. So they got to take care of us before 2020.
Where does it come from to taking care of, though? Is that going to be President Trump's job, or is that going to be somewhere in the States?
I don't know.
Where do we get this relief from? Because I'll agree it's a problem, Mark.
It's a huge problem, and I don't know where it comes from. To me, the governors could stop a lot of it. You know what I mean, on a state level, but on a federal election, I mean, I don't know. Do the Fed step in and take care of it? I have no clue. I don't know where that falls.
Well, let me just say this about the governors. The problem with the governors is like Northern and Cuomo and Newsom, they're not going to investigate themselves.
No, they're not going to investigate
themselves. They're not going to investigate themselves. They're just guarding the hen house or the chicken house or the fox guarding the hen house.
It's going to take the feds coming in and investigate that. But you got, like, state of Florida, you got Ron DeSantis, who's hardcore conservative. You know, we could be starting all kinds of stuff down here and getting this stuff cleaned out. You know what I mean? So, I mean, anyhow, but it's got to be dealt with.
Fair enough. And look, I want to tell my audience tonight, because I get accused of this all the time. Look, I'm not understating, folks, and I'm not trying to be flippant about the voter fraud. I get it. I understand. I'm just saying that, and Mark made a legitimate point, we might not want the 50 million evangelicals voting. I really hadn't thought about that till tonight, and Chris will temper his statements about those 50 million evangelicals.
We're going to go into some of those 50 million, right?
We got a few examples of some of those evangelicals we won't voting. But anyway, I get your point, and it's well taken, and I do understand there is voter fraud in this country. But me and you've bounced this back and forth with each other for a year. Because somebody has got to step up, either on a federal level, state level, or somewhere, and say, look, we got to get it fixed. Mark, we got what, 9 months till the election of 2020? Right. And look, if they don't get these voter machines straightened out, if they don't get these precincts, and I think another thing we've got to do is we've got to get rid of these crooked poll workers. We got to get rid of these crooked election officers and officials. Ron DeSantis is the example. Look, he went into Broward County. One of the first things he did as governor, you know what he did? That crooked lady, he cleaned her out, and there's not going to be any more shenanigans in Broward County. As far as Ron DeSantis is concerned.
Cleaned out that sheriff down there, too.
Cleaned out that sheriff. He cleaned it out. That's another thing that's got to be done because you've got crooked people counting the votes. And not all of them, let me change that, none of them are going to have an R beside their name or a Patriot MAGA hat on. I can tell you that. Because they hate Trump, they hate this country, and they're going to do everything they can to cheat for the other side. So, yeah, we need something done about it. I don't want to stay all program on that, but it's a point well taken, and that's all good. Look, I'm just saying this to tell Virginia, we love you tonight. We're praying for you. I get it. But you got to keep your head on a swivel, and you're still not out of the woods, folks. This governor's bad news. Let me tell you, this is one of the bad news people in this country. He's evil, and I've been praying. I have to tell you, I've been praying for a week that the Lord remove him from the landscape. I have. I'm not meaning to want anything physically wronged or harm to him. But when I say remove him from the landscape, I'm talking about the political landscape. Yeah, get him from office and take him down. It's like David prayed when he was being betrayed by Epiphanel. He told the Lord, he said, I just pray every scheme that he comes against me is brought to naught, and I pray everything that Ralph Northern tries to do in that state comes to naught. That comes to no fruition, and it backfires just like this event did yesterday or today.
It's a little funny to me that this thing went down so smooth today.
Yeah.
It was like picturesque, and even the president was tweeting out like there was no big deal. Nothing's going to happen here, guys. It almost kind of made me wonder if this was actually part of the plan.
Could be.
To make these guys look bad enough. And then also, going after the guns. Hey, they're coming after your guns. You know what I mean? You got to buck up. You got to start fighting here, guys. You know what I mean? And we had a show of force there today. And so I don't know, man. It kind of struck me when I saw his tweets. I'm like, this is almost like it's part of the plan right here.
Could be.
This is like we're watching a movie.
Could be, Mark. Well, look, I'm going to say this again. And what he said this weekend is true. This is why you don't want a Democrat in office. Because, folks, it's what you get. You put any of those Democrat 2020 candidates in power, this is what you're going to get. Open borders, grab your guns, kill the babies, and that's pretty much the Democrat Party agenda. And I'm going to say Democrat. Somebody kindly told me last week to stop calling them the Democratic Party, and I'm going to stop doing that because he's right. They're not Democratic. There's nothing democratic about this party. It's the Democrats, the Democrat Party, and that's what they believe in. Mark, speaking of the Democrats, tomorrow, 11 a.m., they start impeachment in the Senate, the trial itself. Justice Roberts has already been sworn in. He's ready to go. Mitch McConnell and the gang's going to try to get to the bottom of what the Dems are claiming President Trump did, which is a sham, of course. I'm going to ask you first, from a spiritual standpoint, and I'm going to get your other take on this. Has the Lord give you any insight to this as to what is actually going on with this impeachment over President Trump? Has he told you anything specifically?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't told me anything about this except for the fact that he's not going anywhere.
Right.
Period. I mean, again,
right.
They could label him with being impeached, but that's not the same as being removed from office. You know what I mean? Just like Bill Clinton was impeached. They didn't remove him from office. It was a slap on the hand. Yeah, I'm not so sure that the impeachment thing, because Nancy Pelosi was all a little giddy, you know what I mean, about he's impeached for life, you know what I mean, type thing. You know what I mean? Give me a break. And so I think that will probably at some point, maybe that'll even be removed. You know what I mean?
Well, look, Mark, if they get this case in here, and I was reading a story tonight and had a very interesting take on it. If they get into this Senate and they find out these Dems committed illegal acts, that whole thing's thrown out. It's almost like going into a courtroom and the DA wrongfully charging you with something, and you go into that courtroom, and the judge looks at this case, says this case is a sham, and case dismissed. That word dismissed, that's punged from your record. In other words, you're no longer charged with that. You're not a felon any longer. And the DA can scream all they want to, well, we convicted, we impeached him, or we indicted him. Well, it don't matter whether you indict him or not. If you did something illegally, your whole case is gone, and that individual's going to walk free. And I'm not saying President Trump has done anything wrong, but in that legal sense of this, if the Senate gets in there and they start finding illegalities, which I believe they need to call shift, they need to tell him right up front, you're disqualified from being the lead prosecutor because you're compromised, because you're a witness. We want you on the stand. And let Pelosi scramble for somebody else. But I think they've done things illegally, Mark, to even get here. I do. I mean, this due process and the constitutionality of what they did has been hideous. The unconstitutionality of it. And look, I just think, I've been sensing that the Lord is going to do something even bigger with this, that it's not just going to be an acquittal. I think the whole thing is going to be thrown out on grounds that it was done illegally and wrong. That's just my take, and I don't know how your personal take is on that.
I think that this thing is going to. I hope they call Giuliani as a witness.
I do too. All of them. Call them all.
I hope they put up Obama. I hope they put all of them up on the stand and let them give testimony as to why they were doing what they were doing. And could this be the prophetic word where God told us that he was going to be seen before the entire world giving testimony as to why he did what he did? He'll be spitting and sputtering. He won't be able to utter hardly complete a sentence. People will go, "Hey, this is the guy who almost took down America. This is the guy everyone was afraid of." It's almost like, where Scripture talks about we'll see Satan and we'll look upon him and go, hey, this is the guy's who tormented us.
Exactly, Mark.
It's like a type and shadow of that. It's almost like that. And so is this where this comes to pass right here? I don't know. But I hope it does, where they drag these guys in front of everybody and the entire world has to see exactly what these guys did and how they did it. So I at some point, all this is, again, that we're watching a movie play out here. And so, and look at the ones who were doing this. Didn't you pick seven? Was it 7 people?
7 people. Yeah, 7 people.
Okay. And who were the 7 people?
We had Schiff. We had Zoe Lofgren. We had Hakeem Hastings is a third one. Nadler, of course, is in that group. Pelosi herself, that's 5. And there was 2 others. And I want to say there's a lady from New York, and Elliot Engel was in that group as well.
The 7th one, let me help you with the 7th one. The 7th one is named Val Demings.
Okay.
Now, how do I know that? Because Val Demings was the police chief for the Orlando Police Department.
Wow.
Val Demings and her husband, that's right, her husband was the Orange County sheriff at the same time she was the police chief of Orlando. Now, Orange County is the county in which the city of Orlando resides, right? So how does someone become a police chief and a sheriff in the same city, in the same county, at the same time? I know a gentleman personally who ran against Jerry Demings in Orange County and lost when he should have won. Now, this was my point a minute ago about Virginia. This is what's going on right here, okay? Now, let's go a little step further here. All of a sudden, she goes to Congress. Now, she ran OPD in the ground, by the way. And there's also, she was as the police chief, she left her SUV unlocked and had her gun and many things stolen out of her vehicle as a police chief. If she can't even control her gun, how is she going to control this impeachment process?
I'll agree.
Okay? Now, this is a hardcore Democrat that's been raising Cain up there wanting Trump out of office.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now, let's see here. So Jerry Demings is the sheriff of Orange County. She's the police chief. She goes to Congress. Now, all of a sudden, he wins his second term, or another term here, and beats that guy that I know. And all of a sudden, he runs for Orange County mayor, and now he's the mayor. Okay? Now, so he's the Orange County mayor. Buddy Dyer is the mayor of Orlando, city of Orlando. And Buddy Dyer is the one that was an Obamaite and actually had a sealed indictment on him for voter stuff that went down back in like 2005 or something like that. There's some nefarious stuff going on in Orlando, man. Orlando is as corrupt can be, but it's a large city. And here we go again with these large cities.
Yeah.
And so
another population center.
And now what all brought this all in here was Disney. There's something very nefarious. There's something very wrong with Orlando. Orlando is a major hub for something. Why would all the cities and all the states in the United States would Disney pick Orlando? And it's swamp. Where Disney sits is literal swamp down there, okay? So there's something very wrong with what's going on here. There's something very wrong with why do all these guys get in here. And Buddy Dyer's been in since like 2003. And he had sealed indictments on him, and the governor had to have him step down for a little while until this whole thing was cleared. Now, how do these guys keep getting in? There's only one way, Chris, that these guys can do this. Lie, steal, and cheat. And what's the Bible say about that? Who comes to steal, kill, and destroy?
The enemy.
The devil himself. These people are the devil himself. I'm telling you. So this is who you have sitting on the impeachment board.
Unbelievable.
A police chief who couldn't even run the police department, lost her gun, as police chief, because she wouldn't lock her car, couldn't secure a weapon. So now she's up there trying to do an impeachment scam. I mean, so again, you're looking at all this stuff. You're putting two and two together. Now that we've come up to a higher level of under discernment here, and she's helping us to open our eyes. We're seeing things every day now. Now we're starting to question things, and it's like even when I grew up in Orlando, I worked in Orlando my whole career, and it's like, okay, I didn't even see some of this stuff. I saw a lot of things while I was there. But now I'm really starting to see things as I go back and start looking at this stuff and seeing this stuff. So again, how does a police chief and a sheriff at the same time, and then she goes to Congress, now he becomes the mayor, and the mayor of Orange County is one of the most powerful positions in Central Florida. What are these guys trying to protect, Chris?
That's a good question.